In this video, we're talking about rain. As a general rule, you want to try to avoid practicing in the rain. However, we all know this is an outdoor activity, so it's unavoidable. At some point, we're going to be playing in the rain. Some things that we have to look at. The battery instruments, they can probably take it a little bit more easily than the front ensemble. You definitely want to dry off the shells, especially the tenor shells. The water can pool up in there and it will really wreak havoc on the bearing edge. So you want to be very careful about that. It's important to dry all of the components. But that's more easily handled than when we're talking about front ensemble. Timpani, not so difficult, kind of like the battery instruments. You want to make sure that you're drying off the heads. You also want to make sure that you dry off all the components, the struts down the sides, the spider mechanism at the bottom. You really don't want to get into the greasy parts so much, but you want to make sure that the instrument is dry so that things don't rust or corrode. There are a myriad of problems involved with having the keyboard instruments in the rain. It's almost impossible to dry all of the components, whether it's the frame or the bars or the resonators. Undoubtedly, you're going to end up in a situation where you're dealing with light rain in a rehearsal, or the rain might just come up quickly all of a sudden. You really don't want 50 kids that are running towards the band room to start dragging mallet instruments and things like that. One suggestion would be to get a large tarp, like for camping purposes, something that's waterproof, and compress all of the keyboards and timpani down and cover them up with the tarp. You can take a bungee cord and put it on each corner. It's a very inexpensive way to protect a very large investment. One thing that you might consider is having performance mallets or show mallets and a set of practice mallets or rain mallets. At the universities that I teach at and the drum corps that I teach at, that's what we do. We take last year's show mallets and those become this year's practice mallets. If you're in a performance situation and it starts to rain, obviously you're going to have to continue to play and you're going to have to deal with that situation. At your earliest convenience, you want to take the mallets and you want to pat them down to dry off as much of the excess water as you can. And then you want to leave them out so that they can dry. You don't want to put them back in the stick bag. The stick bag is likely to be wet and it's likely to mildew if there's not enough air circulation. If you show up the next day to rehearsal and the mallets are still wet, you do not want to play with them. You want to wait till the mallets are completely dry. Otherwise, this will significantly shorten the lifespan of the mallet. It's not a matter of if the instruments are going to get wet. It's when the instruments are going to get wet. It's very important to remember to take the time to dry the instrument completely. An extra few minutes is going to go a long way in protecting a very large investment. Take that time. It's worth it.